One thing to keep in mind when we do these illustrations and this approach of working from general to specific and why we do it is you will again avoid the temptation of over noodling or noodling areas that are not necessary. You are building on top of solid forms, hopefully. You want to strive to do that. Before you build your details, you want to build your forms solidly first. And another thing is if you say did a detail first, and that is you sort of focused in on an area and you did it ad nauseum and it's a beautifully rendered area, but it just perhaps the form underneath is not completely solidified. Well, you're just going to have to reapply and paint back the forms that should be there on top of your surface details. So you don't want to put the cart before the horse in that respect. Okay, now a quick note, and I know I've mentioned this before, that is the mask or the path technique, but it's really important to constantly, as you change the silhouette of your ship or of your design, to reassess the selection or the path, the frisket, the mask that you have generated for that design, so that it's constantly up to date and that you are able to access a selection or a path that will be a one-to-one with the current status of your design as you improve upon it. So, like I say, I for the most part I save it on to a layer so that you can see me access it in this mode, and it's not in another monitor, for instance. But by doing that, by using that frisket, I can go back to my big brush and still paint broadly. And by painting broadly again, I'm able to depict very efficiently the light phenomena on the major forms of the design. So with everything said and done, it's all the forms are fairly solidly built. It's now time to get into the macro state of the design, and that is the itty bitty bits, the nitty gritty, and all of those smaller shapes become what we call the details. And you really want to handle that when your big forms are handled. Your medium forms or medium shapes, which are in some respects some of the pattern design, that is the surface detail on the larger forms. And when those things are harmonious or to your liking, only then should you really focus in and get the smaller details nailed down. And certainly a key area and an area that will receive a lot of attention would be a cockpit. It's certainly an area where, say, an actor, if it were for a film, or a player, if it were for a video game, will definitely engage with this design quite a bit, very frequently. So this will be a very frequently played area. So you might as well give it that higher level of attention and detail. As I'm zooming into the image and as I'm proceeding along this design, I am constantly reassessing the drawing as well, and I'm making improvements that will better the design and better the drawing as I go. So it's okay to shift things and move things. It's actually necessary, and that is a part of the process as well, and that's the improvements that you will have to make as you get into the detail aspects of or detailing aspects of your design. Now, another thing too is by getting in touch with the materials, and I say in touch, it's a word that I actually use sort of subconsciously. It's kind of perfect because that's what we're doing. We're basically trying to get a sense of that material's texture. So we're basically trying to describe in visual terms how it would feel based on the reflectivity rate and how specular a surface is and how opaque a surface is. You will begin to depict things like glass versus steel versus plastic versus wood, and knowing how to influence your image and your design so that those parts of your design that are made of those materials should feel like they are indeed made of the material that you're describing. So in this respect, I know I'm dealing with glass for the cockpit. In this respect for the cockpit, I know I'm dealing with glass, and for the most part, I believe it's going to be the color orange. I might modify that here and there later, but at least at this point, I'm dealing with my knowns, and I'm going to play with this orange glass cockpit. So also too, I might try and play with some polarization effects that a lot of aircraft will be equipped with in their cockpits, and that is to aid the visual capacity of the operator. And those kinds of things might be fun for me to play in terms of playing one material versus another. And when I separate these things in terms of materials, I'm also trying to separate these things in terms of layers as well, so that the steel support that is reinforcing the glass cockpit, that those bars are in fact painted on their own separate layer, and then I can select that layer and therefore paint within the mask for those for that given material. So here I'm basically going back and forth between my cockpit shape and the steel material that is going to contrast against that cockpit shape. And of course, observing my primary light source and giving a sense of turning of the form, and that is to say that the plane, and that is PL, the plane, that is the surface, that not the airplane, but the surface of the airplane is facing up, that is topmost, and not the one that is slightly sloped forward, is catching more light. So therefore, I'm trying to register more light onto that surface of the form. So again, these are the kinds of ways that you will be able to just give your design and image a greater sense of dynamic and definition. Now, also to the form and the way the forms turn and the sharpness of that is what I'm trying to massage. So whether an edge is going to be firm or hard or soft or lost is also really going to do a lot in terms of describing the character of that form and its attributes, its physical attributes to the viewer as well. So that's why, again, keeping your brushes simple and keeping your form statements simple is really the way to go, because it just makes communication absolutely clear. And you really, again, you don't want to muddle too much, so you want to really push contrasts where need be. And in this respect, I think the placement of the operator in the cockpit is a great moment for me to push even a little bit more contrast in terms of value. Now I'm pushing the black shapes against the white shapes, these shadow shapes of the operator and all of the gadgets that are within the cockpit itself against the backlit shape that is catching off of the being hit off of the steel behind the glass, etc. So all of those things are ways that I can now really push the what they call the focus area, or the central focus points of your image. And it's good to have more than one. And in terms of pictorial composition, it's a general rule is that you would perhaps have one center of interest, a dominant center of interest that is on one side of the composition. If you were to fold your composition or your image in half and break it up into two parts, you should have your one dominant center of interest on one side of that divider, that halfway divider, and your subordinate center of interest on the other side. So imagine then if you're looking at the top of your composition or your image, and you imagine a tennis court, the ball should jump from one side of the fence to the other side of the fence, the ball being the viewer's rhythm of attention. And I use these hokey analogies, but it's only as a way to make all of these grander philosophies a bit less mysterious and sort of more approachable. So bear with the hokey aspects and try not to gag too much. So I do apologize, but okay. Anyways, and like I say, getting just a bit more definition and more detail only where you need it. So I'm not going to detail everywhere, and because I have to maintain my sense of time budget, and I'm going to pick my areas wisely that I'm going to detail. And specifically the cockpit, like I say, it's going to be a high focus area, an area that's going to get a lot of interaction. So it will certainly serve the illustration to give that area a greater level of attention. And again, pushing the contrasts a bit, that is to say, the fact that that cockpit is that hit of warmth within these gray tones, and as you see in the image, it will start to go into this oceanscape actually, and that's already, again, like I was saying, I had that image in mind when I was already setting it up in Circathia and setting my color tones. I was there were two that I was leaning towards, and that is a green field and a blue field. And the blue and the green color field together, as I put them into this Photoshop file in the very beginning, it kind of gave me that interactivity that I wanted in the shadows. That would give me a sense of this oceanic atmosphere or environment. So all that stuff is slightly premeditated and should be premeditated. And these are the ways that you pass the baton to yourself, and you set yourself up in having those good starts that will result in a good finish. Okay, so like I say, thank God for my my diligence with setting up my friskets and my masks. I'm able to assess my design in a broad sense, and still maneuver in a very controlled manner and not be too devil may care or too slapdash, because we really want to get to a resolved sense of form, depiction, and a good resolve with the image. So to constantly waver with your placement of the forms and the placement of the light and the shadow shapes on those forms would really be counterproductive. So it's about efficiency of means and working smart. So setting everything up and compartmentalizing everything into these steps and having my assets, work separately and bringing those in as individual layers, I'm able to really get a sense of control and get to that nth resolve much quicker. Perspective, always perspective. So use your distort tool and your distort features to get your decals to line up in the correct plane.